way back to when you were a journalist yourself in the Mirror, the Today paper and so on. I know it's a number of years ago. That industry, certainly the print part of the media, has changed beyond all recognition. How do you see that now? Is print dead, and is the future of the web?
I don't think print's dead, and maybe I'm old-fashioned, but I don't think it'll ever be dead. I think people will, just like I won't use a Kindle because I like to feel the book. I think a lot of people like to feel a newspaper, but I think some newspapers are dying. I think some newspapers will go out of business, not just because of phone hacking, as the News of the World has, but just because of the economic forces that are changing the media industry. But I think there'll always be a place for newspapers, and I do think, this is the Manchester Evening News event. I think local and regional media in particular, because they are more rooted in their communities, I think there'll always be a place for them. Now, everybody's having to shift online, and I think in a sense what's happening is that the media organisations themselves are having to reconcile the web and print, and they're becoming one product, part paper, part on the web, and I think that's the way that it's going to go. So some papers will transfer completely, others they'll mix it up, some will disappear. Other new papers will grow. I mean, the idea that no new papers are going to emerge because of the web, I think that's a fantasy as well.
I'm not sure how many members of the public have ever regarded journalism as a noble profession, but right now it's in the dock. The Leveson inquiry, and all journalists, all reporters, all newspapers seem to be tarred with the same brush in the eyes of the public often. How do you see the industry coming out at the other end of this?
I don't know. The first thing I say is I don't think the public do say all journalists are terrible. I think they know that some journalists are terrible, and I think they believe newspapers a lot less than they used to do. But I think that's been a trend that's been going on for some time. I've got to be honest, I'm giving evidence to the Leveson inquiry later this month. And I hope that there is a new system of regulation that comes out of it. I hope also that what comes out of it is the beginnings of a change of culture so that the good journalists can actually drive out the bad. What's happened is the bad journalists have been controlling the good. And that's why when you say they're tarred with the same brush, is because I think right at the top of the industry, newspapers like the Mail, we've seen what's been going on within the Murdoch empire with phone hacking and the rest of it. It's those at the top of the industry that actually have set the bad example, and I think that the good journalists have just been keeping their heads down. The good journalists need to rise up. There's a lot of them out there. There's a lot of journalists, I think, that are still very good at their jobs, care about the truth, see journalism as a noble calling, but they've been drowned in this kind of morass of negativity, culture of celebrity, trivialisation. Story's only a good story if it's a bad story, and I think that maybe the next generation will realise that they've got to get back to some of in a very modern technological setting, but get back to more old-fashioned journalistic values.
I've just downloaded your books onto my Kindle, and I noticed you said, you did alert Tony Blair, TB as you call him, to the fact that you were doing the diaries in the book. What does he think now? Now he's had time to read them and digest them. What does he make of them?
I think he thinks they're fine. I think there's one or two things in there that, did I really say that? Did you really think that? But the thing about politics at that level is that, life is kind of on the record anyway. And I think actually Tony comes out of the diaries very well. I think that the government as a whole, actually, the Labour Party, comes out well in that, yes, lots of stuff went wrong, and yes, there were lots of difficult times, but actually we set out to win, to get into power, we set out to make change to the country, and we did deliver a lot of change. And a lot of that change has been for the better, which is why the Tories aren't undoing a lot of it. Now, some of it they are, but I think that's where they're going wrong.